2017 JK Rubicon, 410s front and rear, D44s. We're going to re-gear those 410s to 488s today. After the vehicle is supported, I got up on the jack stands. There's another one there in the back. First thing, we're going to pull the wheels off. Next, we'll remove the brake caliper and the rotors. To remove the brake caliper, it's this bolt up top here, and one on the bottom. The brake caliper come off, and then your rotor will just slide right off. Next, remove the 3 wheel bearing bolts right here. And then you remove the wheel speed sensor right here. Next, we'll remove the diff cover and let the oil drain. Now that we got the oil draining and the axle's loose, we'll pull the axle shafts out just a couple inches so we're able to remove it from the carrier. Next, we'll disconnect the drive shaft here, those 2 straps, and remove the differential wiring that you see up there. Next, we're going to remove these 4 bolts and remove the carrier. Okay, so here's the carrier removed. Make sure when you're removing it that on each side you'll have these shims. Make sure you hold on to those. Next, you'll have the bearing race and then your bearing. So next off, we're going to remove these bearings, and then we're going to remove this ring gear and install the new one. Here's a look at the housing empty. Okay, so we've pulled the old bearings off. These are the old bearings, there and here. There's our spacers, one on that side. This is the spacer on the left side, on the bottom. This spacer also came off when we pulled that bearing off. That's just to support that locker. So next, we're going to go ahead and apply some motor oil to the edge here and install the new bearings. And now we're just pressing on that last bearing. That's it? Good stop? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's it. Next, we're going to install the new ring gear onto the carrier. We're going to use new bolts as well as a healthy dose of Loctite. This pinion only had 3 or 4 inch-pounds of a force to move it. Anyways, what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the pinion nut, remove the yoke, disassemble the pinion, measure the shims, remove the seal, and get the housing all cleaned up. One thing up front here, before we remove the pinion, if you can see this here, that's the sensor for the locker working. Now I've already loosened it, that's why it moved like that, but this will also have to get removed. This pulls out when your locker is locked, and then it goes back in when it's released. So that just unscrews from this side here. I'll show you it real quick. Was it a 19? It just unscrews there. So we have removed the pinion after we removed that differential lock indicator. What you're seeing now is, here's the front bearing race, and then in the back here there's another bearing, the bearing race, and then behind that is the thrust washer and then the seal. And then over here on the table, here's the pinion. Your shims are right here in between the bearing and the pinion gears. There's your bearing. Here's the crush sleeve. We'll have to put on a new crush sleeve. So what we're going to do now is remove that bearing and figure out how much shins we have in order to put back on to get our spacing properly. Okay, now we have the new pinion for the 488 gears. Here's the original shim and our new setup bearing. That's on and ready to go. And now we still need to remove... Oops. We still need to remove the 2 bearing races and the seal on the back there. So we're going to do that now. We got the old bearing races out. Now we're going to install the new bearing races. Okay, we got the bearing races set in for the pinion and the seals installed for the axles on each side here. Next, we're going to go ahead and set the shims on the pinion and set the preload. Okay, so we got our backlash set up with our setup bushing, or setup bearing. So we're going to remove our setup bearing, and now it's time to press on the good bearing, the final bearing. We did have to adjust our shims. The stock one was 40 thousandths of an inch. I think we changed it twice down to 31 thousandths. So we'll lube that up, put it on the pinion, press that on, and then put it in the differential. Okay, we have our pinion installed with our new bearings. The new seal, we put RTV silicone behind there. We got our nut torqued, and now we're moving on to the other side. We installed the carrier, and now we're just going to paint and get a gear pattern on it. So we have our carrier installed now. You can see we already made our pattern. This here is the drive side. We got a nice pattern on all the drive teeth. And then on the coast side, let's see if we can... This is the coast side here that you're seeing. Got a nice pattern there. Everything's torqued down to spec. We put the differential lock back in place and routed the cable through. And we inserted the sensor in the back here. So now it's just install the diff cover, put some RTV silicone on it, and that's it.